Hello and welcome in my second part of the video series of the Getting Started with VfrFlight. In this video I will explain you all the features and functionalities in the right panels over here. So let's start with the main panel. Here this is pretty straightforward, so you can specify the route name or route description. This is basically only for your information when you save the route, just to distinguish between your routes. Okay, so here we have performance. I will start describing the values over here, and then I will come back to the profiles here. Okay, so first the cruise speed, which is true airspeed that you provide over here. So here you provide in knots, but if you in any moment, if you want to change any unit, you can go to the settings and units tab, and here you can choose any type of unit you want to see in VfrFlight, which is extremely useful if you're flying in different metrics. So you can choose, for example, kilometers for distance, or kilometers per hour for your speed, or meters for your altitude, or even US gallons or pounds for your fuel. Whatever you are used to, you can change here, and then every unit in VfrFlight would be changed according to what you selected there. Okay, so moving on to the next one is speed of climb. So what is the usage of this? Let me select some route. Let's go here, 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 and here. Okay. Let me fill in some values with the predefined profile. I will explain that later, but I want to make it quick here. Okay. So when I will put the speed of climb here, which is 65 knots for Cessna 150, sorry. When I would put those over here, and I will change the altitude, let's say 5,000 feet for this point, and 5,000 feet for this. So as you can see, the altitude of this point is 93 feet, and for this one is 5,000. So to get to that point with that speed, I need to keep 187 feet per minute of climb rate. And if I move it closer, as you can see, I need to climb faster. Okay, the pretty cool thing is that it calculates also the wind. So all calculations here includes the wind calculations in real time. So let's predefine the wind here. Right, as you could see, the climb rate changed, and it changed to some negative value, which is pretty funny because I put 100 knots. Which is pretty weird. Okay. Okay, so I found the bug in the software, so it should show here something like not available or something like this. I will change that. Okay, so I put here 10 knots. So as you can see, now we need to climb 158 feet per minute, but if I change the direction of the wind, you could see that it's also changing, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so descent speed is the same, but for descending. Cruise altitude. So if I put some values here and click update points, it will update all the middle points. So these are each points, but first and last one, which are treated as takeoff and landing points. Here is navigational fuel reserve in minutes. So for GA planes you would usually put here 45 minutes. So You need that for calculations of your fuel. So when you click here, calculate route, here you have the table with your fuel state. First is the fuel tank's capacity. Here is the unusable fuel, so you put both of those values here, right? So usable fuel quantity and unusable fuel. And next one is navigational fuel reserve, which is calculated from your fuel consumption, which is 25 liters per hour. Again, if you choose gallons or pounds, you will have different unit here. So 45 minutes from 25 liters is around 18.8 liters of fuel. And here you have calculated fuel used for flight, and this is fuel left in tanks after flight. So, well, basically maybe this description is a little bit misleading because it's not exactly fuel left after flight, but it's maybe, let's say, the quantity of fuel that is still available for flying in this flight. Because to calculate this, we subtracted first this amount, unusable fuel, from this, so we have 93. We subtracted this 19 from this, and this is actually the fuel that we would burn during this flight, but we subtracted all those values from 100 and we get those. So this is, let's say, the safe amount of fuel that could be used for further route planning within the boundaries of aviation law, basically, and rules. Okay, so I explained all of those, and now let's go back to the profiles. So here we have a bunch of predefined profiles. Unfortunately, at current moment, you cannot download or upload your profiles anywhere, but I plan to change it so we could all share our profiles between ourselves. That could be pretty cool for later use. Okay, so you can choose from profile, and you can also save your own. So how to do it? If now I modify some profiles and click here, okay, I can put save new profile with this. So I will put, for example, for ZZZ. Okay, so now I saved this as new profile, and now I can quickly fill in all values within one mouse click, basically. So this is pretty useful. Okay, next is route plan, right? Okay, so here basically you have the table with all your route points, and you can choose from different presentation of the values in the tables. If you double click on any value, you can edit this and change it also with altitudes, or even here is the hemisphere. Here you have the summarized distance and total time that is available also over here, and a bunch of buttons. New, pretty straightforward, new from database, so you can look for some points from the database. You can delete some point, duplicate, copy all, which means that it copies the route points names to the clipboard, and if I now press Ctrl V, I can paste them anywhere I want. Reverse, so you can change the order of them, change the order of your routes, so or clear them all, and here is calculate minimum safe altitude. So what is minimum safe altitude? Basically those are those values here in magenta color. We have here the separate layer, and then they describe the elevation in given region, which is the maximum elevation in that area, plus 1000 feet. So basically, when you plan your route, you just can get a quick glance for those values, and then you could see what is the safe altitude if, for example, you get in between the clouds or you get in some low visibility. So you know that, for example, if you fly at 1600 feet in this region, you are safe, so you're not going to hit any elevation. So normally also you include the height of the highest obstacles in this region, but since I don't have this data for VfrFlight, so it's not included here. So it's important thing to remember for you if you would plan this for the real world flights, and there would be some high chimneys or obstacles in the area. You should be aware of that it doesn't show this here. So basically, when you press this, you can set your cruise altitude as 5300 feet, which is the minimum safe altitude calculated for this route. So then you know that when you're somewhere in the middle of the route, if you got lost, as I said, or something, just climb up to this altitude and you are safe. Okay, next is VOR NDP. So basically the same, the table with navates. So let's add some. Let's add, for example, no, sorry. Let's add here some VOR, and it appears over here. So we can enable editing. So this could be confusing for you, why to enable this. But the reason is, okay, when you are using some flight simulation database that you imported, you have complete database. But if you are using open source database, which is OpenAIP, for example, there are some navates that are missing. So basically, you can just define your own. For example, if you know that in real world here is some navate, right? So you can put it over here or edit the values, right? And then just use it as if it would be here. So if you press, for example, calculate route, you will get calculations. The radials would be calculated for this new position of this VOR, etc., etc. You can create map radials, etc., etc. Okay, so here those are basically straightforward. Find in route proximity, you can find some VORs in route proximity as the label suggests. So it will automatically find you the closest VORs. Here you can add map radials in points, which means add map radials in route points. So I would select Yankee Papa Kilo here, this VOR. So I want it to be created at waypoints. Let's draw radials. Okay, so if I do that, I automatically have those map radials created. So those are objects that can be dragged over the map, and they show you the radial from the VOR. You can also add those just right-clicking anywhere and click Add VOR radials here. So it would do the same job. But here you can basically just mass add all the radials. This could be useful if you want to have your route carefully planned with also VOR navigation. Okay, let's delete those. Just select them and press delete button. Okay. Okay, here is create radials grid. So I covered this functionality in a complete separate video, so please check it out, sorry, if you want more information. Basically, if you press this, you now have the possibility to plan your route according to radials from VORs. Okay, next one is alternate airports. I have also covered this tab in separate video. Basically, to add alternate airport, you can right click on some airport and put add to alternates, and A is appearing over the airport in the map. You can edit their elevation or frequency. Those are needed basically for your PDF, or here you have calculations results, you have vectors for your alternate airports. This is one Charlie Sierra Kilo 8 is one of the airport that I added as alternate, and here I have vectors that I need to take. Sorry, it's my phone. I need to follow just to reach this airport from any of the route points. So this would be extremely useful if you need to go to this alternate airport for some reason. And also by default you have this section vectors for alternates in your PDF settings, and this table would also appear in your printout basically. Yeah. Okay, so weather it's it has the same functionality here as those two buttons here. So this button is the same as download TAF Meta, and Meteor is the same as this button. So basically you can download some weather information along the route, and now we have all the list over here. You can find some station in the map, etc, or clear all information. Okay, so wind, I have already shown you this. So this is basically where when you define your wind, and you can calculate this from the meta, but first you need to download it. Okay, so now the filters for the map. Okay, so basically with those filters you can narrow some objects in the map that you see. Here are the airports by some criteria, for example the runway length, elevation, some additional criteria regarding some nav aids, or is it hardened runway, for example, and just as soon as you change the criteria it will be updated in the map. So it's pretty useful if you want to find some specific airports for your need. Later on is airspaces filter. So this is pretty useful for planning your flight regarding airspaces, but first I need to turn on the airspace layer. Okay, so I will declutter map a little bit so it's not so confusing. Okay, I just left the airspaces layer on. Okay, so here you can also select some range of the airspaces, some range criteria that you are interested in, or you can select by some type, and also as soon as you check them they would appear or disappear. Okay, here is horizontal slice. This is pretty cool, just to give you some another look over the airspaces and plan your route horizontally, just to avoid them, for example. So as soon as you move the slider over here or put some value here, let's put 1500 feet. So here you have the horizontal slice that cuts all those airspaces at this altitude and basically shows those that are affected. So now that you know that if you would be flying at 1500 feet, you would encounter those airspaces. So it's pretty useful just to have some horizontal awareness what is around you. Okay, so this is AUP, so this is basically, but it works only for Poland. It's basically showing you reserved airspaces for today and tomorrow. Okay, here is the user points filter, but I have already covered this in separate video, so if you are interested in this, just check out this video. Okay, so basically that's all for the second part. Hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.